Alright, hey guys, this is Mr. Pearson. I got the second part of your study guide. Pardon me, my nose is itching. And what I want to talk to you about is how natural events and human influences can affect living organisms. Now we know interdependency, that's a big word. We talked about interdependency and how, sorry, nose is itching again. We talked about how interdependency is when living things depend on each other in order to survive, just like bees depend on flowers and flowers depend on the bees. So the bee needs the flower in order to get the nectar so it can survive, and the flowers need the bees so that they can transfer their pollen. That's called interdependency. Now, there are natural events, things that happen in nature that affect living organisms, and then there are also some human influences. But I want to talk first, scratch my eye, I'm a little itchy for some reason. We're going to talk first about natural events, some things that we might consider natural disasters, but they actually can have a good benefit to them. Alright, so first off is fire. Everybody say fire with me. Fire. Alright, fire can be very harmful to living things like animals and humans, because as we know, fire burns things. It destroys things. If you ever watch the news, you see that there's always wildfires and things like that going on in places like California and things like that, and it comes through and it destroys their habitat, burns down houses, those types of things. Makes it so that animals and living things don't have a place to live anymore. But fire can also be a good thing, because it can be helpful because it clears out dead plants, and it helps to open up new places for plants to grow. So if there's dead logs or dead plants or dead, whatever laying on the ground, the fire can come through and burn that up and help to create new places for new living things to grow. So that's fire. It's harmful because it can destroy your habitat, but it also helps to provide new spaces by clearing out dead plants and things like that. Alright, floods. Flood is when a big thing of water comes through, lots of rain, lots of snow. Up where I live, in the springtime, after the snow melts on the mountain, we see the river starts to flood. I'm patting my hair here because I got this little thing sticking up. The river starts to flood because of all the water running down. And again, a flood can be harmful because it can destroy their habitat. Water comes through, wipe away houses, things like that. But it's also, a flood can be helpful because it helps to move soil, and it can bring, and when it moves that soil, it can bring new nutrients and other things to help the plants to grow. So if an area doesn't have good soil, a flood can come through and help mix that up, help stir that up, and provide the nutrients that it needs. All right. So we have fire, we have flood, disease. Diseases are bad. Nobody likes to get sick. You like to get sick? I don't like to get sick. Don't like to sneeze, don't like to cough, don't like to have stomach aches. A disease, it can affect both plants and animals. Sometimes trees get sick and they die. Sometimes plants can get a disease. And what will happen is that the disease can spread, and it can actually wipe out living things. So if there's a certain disease going around that affects the birds, it can wipe out all the birds, or it can wipe out all of the certain kind of plant. It's pretty bad. But if there is an overpopulated area, and this is the good side to a disease, if there is one, if there's too many living things in a particular area, the disease can come through and help to reduce some of the numbers, so that if there's not enough food or enough water or enough resources, that the disease can come through and help to thin out the population, help to get rid of some of those living things, so that the ones that survive have access to those resources. That one's kind of sad. No, I'm sad. I'm going to wipe my eyes because I'm sad. Don't like to think about disease. All right, and then finally, erosion. And erosion is when soil, the dirt, we're going to talk more about soil at some point, erosion is moved from one area to another by wind or water. And erosion, again, we're going to talk about the bad things. Erosion, when the water comes through or the wind comes through, it can actually take away someone's habitat and cause so that the living things can't live there. So if you ever see a tree, or you see a riverbank, that's what I meant to say. Sometimes that riverbank, as the water flows through, it starts to wear away at it, carry the dirt far away from it. And that's pretty bad. But erosion can also be good because it helps to create topsoil. And topsoil is the uppermost layer of the soil, and that's where plants grow. It's good. So, all right, so natural events: fire, flood, disease, and erosion. All right? Now we're going to talk about some human influences. Human influences. How you and I can affect living things. And the first one up is pollution. Pollution's bad. Makes me sad. When we throw things out the window of our car, or we dump things into the water, or we burn things, we're adding harmful materials called pollutants into the air. And it can have a harmful effect on plants and animals in our environment. It used to be, before they put a lot of different regulations and things, that the air in cities where there's lots of people, lots of cars, lots of travel, the air would get really gross and it'd be hard to breathe. It was called smog. It was gross. It was nasty. And all of that came from pollution. But a positive thing is that, a lot of people realize how much pollution there is, and so they've taken measures, they've taken steps in order to stop the pollution and to clean up the water in the land areas. So, like sometimes here at our school, we'll go out and we'll clean up the land. We have Earth Day to help do those things. We'll go out and pick up trash, or maybe if you're in Boy Scouts or Girl Scouts, you've done a project like that. And that's a good thing. Another human influence is called conservation. And conservation is when humans, like you and me, at least I hope you're a human, unless you're a monkey watching this. I don't think you're a monkey. I'm pretty sure you're a human. It's when humans can preserve natural resources by using them carefully. So, for example, if we chop down a tree, to make paper, or to make a table or a chair, or even to heat our house in the wintertime, we chop down a tree, we can plant another one, and that's called conservation. It's using it wisely. And we can also, and we talk, if you remember from our water cycle, humans can conserve water by not wasting it. Turn it off when you're brushing your teeth, or take shorter showers, those types of things. We can conserve soil by preventing erosion. And even though erosion does create topsoil, which is good, too much erosion is pretty bad. And so what we need to do is we need to plant trees along riverbanks and along cliff edges and stuff, because the roots of the trees will hold the soil there, and it'll keep it from blowing away. And we've talked about fossil fuels, the coal, oil, and natural gas, and we can conserve those by cutting down on our energy use. So only driving when we absolutely need to, and carpooling and doing all those types of things, because number one, that'll cut down on the amount of pollution, and number two, it'll help to conserve the fossil fuels, because as we've learned, it takes thousands of years for new fossil fuels to be formed, and if they run out, there are no more. All right, and that's why that's a reason why we need to be looking at alternative energy sources, such as solar power, finding ways to use that more effectively, and wind power, using that for more effective uses, and even water power, hydropower, so that we have alternative uses, because the fossil fuels won't be around forever. Eventually they are going to run out. And then one more thing that humans can do to affect living organisms is called resource renewal. And resource renewal, what that is that if a species of plant or animal is in danger of becoming extinct, then humans can do things to try to save it. So, for example, if someone sees a plant that's in danger of becoming extinct, they can gather. Sorry, I had some technical difficulties there, so if you're watching it and you saw it click out, I apologize. But we're back. My nose is still itching. Got my bow tie still on. I was talking about resource renewal, and what I was saying was that if a plant or animal is in danger of becoming extinct, people can do things to help keep that from happening. And so what that can look like is taking an animal that's in danger in one place and moving it to a different habitat so that it can flourish there. Or if a plant is getting ready to become extinct, maybe taking some of the seeds and harvesting them and moving them to a place where it'll be safer and more, it'll be better for them to grow. So that's resource renewal. So different natural events and different human events, they can have an effect on living things, both positive and negative. And it's all in a matter of how you look at it. Like I said, fire, flood, disease, and erosion. Those can have some pretty devastating effects on living things, but at the same time, they can do some good stuff. And humans, we can do some pretty bad things to the environment, like pollution and things like that, but at the same time, we can also help protect the environment and take care of it. All right, good luck.